All right, please rise, join me for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you for those of you who may be joining us remotely from home. This is the regularly scheduled Bowling Green City Council meeting for April 6th, 2020. Kate, could you call the roll, please?
Harold.
Here.
Hollenbach.
Here.
Leontis.
Here.
Phipps. Here. You need to say Councilmember Phipps here. Councilmember Phipps here. Thank you. Robinette.
Here.
Roland. Councilmember Roland here. And Zanfordino.
Here. Okay, the minutes have been circulated from our last meeting on March 16th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the minutes of March 16th, 2020.
Second. Okay, properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, the minutes are approved. Okay, do we have any correspondence this evening?
There is no correspondence.
Okay. I'm assuming we have no special recognitions. So, were there any lobby visitations submitted prior to the deadline?
No, there were not.
Okay. That brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
from the Finance Committee, I have a resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the HGAC by cooperative purchasing program and other similar governmental cooperative purchasing programs for the purpose of purchasing machinery, materials, emergency vehicles, supplies, or other articles and building supplies. Also from the Finance Committee, I have an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. From the Planning, Zoning, Economic Development Committee, I have an ordinance changing the name of Bay Harbor Court East to East Bay Harbor Court and the street name of Bay Harbor Court West to West Bay Harbor Court. Also from the Zoning Committee, an ordinance accepting annexation of approximately 40.586 acres of land in Center Township, Wood County, Ohio from Bowling Green, from the city of Bowling Green petitioner. And also from the Zoning Committee, an ordinance establishing interim zoning for approximately 40.586 acres of the land at the southwest corner of Carter Road and East Poe Road, recently annexed to the city as petitioned for by the city of Bowling Green of M1 light industrial zoning.
Okay. Official reports, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council. Good to see everybody. I hope that everybody is taking care of themselves and their families. I just did want to speak briefly this evening about an executive action that was taken this afternoon. I'll have a copy of it in front of you. You will see that this afternoon I signed an emergency declaration to the city of Bowling Green. At the recommendation of the administration and after consultation with the city, we felt this was a prudent action to take at this time. The primary reason for this is to maintain some consistency with the federal disaster declaration that President Trump had initiated at the end of March. And also on March 9th, Governor DeWine did declare a state of emergency in the state of Ohio. What we are finding is that in order to allow the city to, in a most timely fashion, apply for federal relief funding that might be coming from either the federal government, FEMA, or other state agencies, that time is going to be of the essence of this. So this is primarily what administrative in nature, and it will expire when the emergency that has been declared by the governor and the president have expired. So I didn't want to make you aware that this action was taken this afternoon. If you have any questions, I'm certainly able to answer or willing to answer them at this time, or you could follow up with us in the office.
I just have two questions. One, regarding when it will expire, will it be when the governor or when the president? They could declare it different times. Will we go with the governor?
I would guess it's more likely that we'll go with the governor.
Okay.
But
I'm reassured.
Yeah.
And then the other question is, at a practical level, what will this require our citizens or ourselves as citizens to do differently in terms of how we circulate? Do we need to wear masks? Do we need to avoid this or that or the other thing?
No. We of course we advise all of our citizens to continue to follow information that's being disseminated by the CDC, by the Ohio Department of Health, by the Wood County Health Department. We continue to take our cues from those agencies. Of course, there are that it is an evolving situation. There are new recommendations that are coming out quite frequently. So we ask our residents to be mindful of what they're hearing from the healthcare experts. But in terms of this order mandating compliance with any sort of those sort of recommendations, this is not doing that. It is encouraged in here, in the statement that we are encouraging our citizens to comply with the necessary emergency measures that are being communicated. So we are recommending that, but we're not mandating that by this order.
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion because different people say different things. Do we have on the city website? Do we have specifics as to these? Which ones we're recommending? Or
this is the document.
I understand that, but in terms of what specific things people should be doing, we have that somewhere.
No, there's all kinds of information on the city website.
Okay.
You go to the website, go to the COVID tab. There's information that's being uploaded there on a daily basis. Most of it is.
Have you added a recommendation for masks at this point, or?
I don't believe that we have done that yet.
Okay, what you're thinking about it?
I would think we would consider it. Yeah, I mean, as I just said, we're asking our citizens to consider the recommendations that are coming from experts, and we would ask that they make an informed decision that meets their needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Municipal Administrator, Ms. Treader.
Good evening. And yes, we verified that the CDC recommendation is linked to the city's website. Joe in the back, Joe and Amanda have been doing an outstanding job. If you hopefully have had an opportunity to look at our website, we are keeping very up to date. That's updated multiple times a day with information, not only on city services, which of course are of high value to our citizens to know what's going on, but also with other pertinent information for the community as well. We continue to provide the essential services that are necessary to the citizens of Bowling Green. And as I mentioned to you 3 weeks ago, that seems both just yesterday and a lifetime ago, the 3 weeks ago we stood here in this room together when we were first at the start of this, we have continued to maintain those safety services, particularly police, fire, refuse, and utilities. In some areas, we have been able to continue the vital work of infrastructure here in the city of Bowling Green. But as when we do that with our city employees, safety is always at the forefront of our work. We have asked and challenged all of our department and division heads. In many ways, they've restructured large parts of their workforce, much as our businesses here in Bowling Green and many people here are citizens, people who studied here in classrooms. All of us have undergone so many changes, like our fellow community members. We too have gone through those changes. Our department division heads have been challenged to look at things differently. And as they look at any task in the community, the first question is, can you do it safely? Can you do it within the guidelines that the health experts are putting out? So you will see in the coming weeks things like mowers out amongst the city because that can be done independently. Now, how that person gets to the mower is going to be different. We have limited break rooms and shop areas, places where people could congregate within our buildings to keep them separated. We've removed chairs. Sometimes if you see people going to a site, whereas normally they would have all ridden in a vehicle together to save gas, we are now sending them in separate vehicles. And when they are in that vehicle, they are to sanitize the vehicle before they use it, and when they leave, and then again, do the same process again. It's certainly not always the most efficient way to go, but it's the safest way to go, and that is what we've told all of our employees is the priority at this point. Of course, we do have police and we have firefighters, and I know that when you watch national news, you see a lot of appreciation for them, and I want to reiterate again how very proud we are of those folks. We've always hired professionals here. We value training, education, professionalism, high standards. We're accredited. These are things we hold near and dear here in Bowling Green, and we've shown our support over the years. And as we find ourselves in this moment, that is really paying off by the professionalism, the expertise that all of those folks are still able to provide for our citizens in this time. Citizens, as we mentioned, can continue to reach us. Not only do we encourage them to sign up for the city newsletter, and special editions of that have come out regularly. Hopefully you're all subscribers and you've seen that, or we've sent out additional information. But on our website, we have a page devoted just to this subject, and we encourage people to visit it. We have also changed some of our offices. We've mentioned to you in past weeks that our facilities cannot be accessed, although people can drop things, but our phones are still active and people may still reach us. Now, that may be a slightly different experience because the person may not be sitting in a city facility when he or she answers that phone. When we were able to, we pushed people to their homes as that's the safest place for them, but they went home with city phones. Those phones are forwarded there. They are answered at our normal hours, which are listed on our website. Sometimes transferring can be a bit challenging, so we do ask for people's patience, but they are connected to computers. They are connected to information, again, to help guide the citizens through this time and respond as expeditiously as possible. As always, we ask for your patience. We all need to show each other a lot of patience these days, and when interacting with the city, we ask for that as well. And that completes my report, subject to your questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Treader? No? Lori, do you have any reports from any of the department heads that are not here this evening?
Again, we excused everyone except for Mr. Marsh, but we asked them to keep it brief, just as we are trying to keep your agenda as light as possible to really focus on the most essential tasks at hand. We asked them to only share if they had essential items, and they did not have anything to share with you this evening.
So if council members have any specific questions of a department head, I'm going to recommend that they send those questions to you and that you would seek out answers for them.
That's correct. We're glad to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Lori, just want to echo what the mayor and what you said about the city's website. It is like a one-stop shop. It's a great website, has a lot of information, and if there was one website to go to for like everything city or even with respect to the pandemic, it's that. So I want to echo my compliments to Joe and Amanda for the job they're doing. And also, you excused everybody but the city attorney, and I'm anxious to hear his report.
There's no excuse for him.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, which takes us to City Attorney, Mr. Marsh.
No report. Unless you have any questions.
All right, well, thank you for coming out regardless. Let's see, that would end that. That takes us to council committee reports.
Mr. President,
Mr. Zanfordino.
tonight we had our 7th and final meeting of the Community Improvement Committee, and we worked off of two proposals and some suggestions from Neocles, and we've derived a document that we'll be finalizing to route to the administration, yourself, and to the full council. The document that we'll be routing will have our recommendations in terms of should there be registration and a lot of specifics that we hope to see in any resulting legislation.
President, I want to, as a member of the committee, I want to commend Neocles for an incredibly extensive, he's going to be praised for his manner of detail. I'm a little jealous. But he put a booklet together which has practically everything that you would want to have in it that spanned our 7 meetings. So I wanted to make sure that he was complimented on that great job. And I want to compliment John on his leadership. It was quite a bit to navigate, and I really want to hold up as an example the extent of public input. He had meeting after meeting after meeting with ample public input, and was able to navigate through that, as well as, if you take a look at the other 2 committee members, myself and Neocles, he managed to herd the cats rather well. So I wanted to compliment him on that.
Thank you, Bill. Neocles' booklet will be really called more of a tome than a booklet. And for those of you who can't see at home, Bill's mask has superheroes on it, and I didn't see that coming.
Well,
thank you very much, Bill.
I hesitated because if you see it up close, it's got Captain America and Hulk, and I thought, this is what someone would wear if they were going to go rob a comic book store. And I thought about not having a mask tonight, and I thought, well, I should ask my family. But I knew what they'd answer, and that would be, yes, Dad, you should have a mask, and it's got nothing to do with the pandemic. So I wore it anyway.
John, if I could make a comment to our 2 council people that aren't here, there are 2 folders or 2 binders with the information from the committee that I'd like to get to each of you. If you could just send me a text how I could conveniently get that to you safely and conveniently. Thank you.
Okay, all right, Mr. President.
Yes.
I had previously scheduled a committee meeting in the Finance Committee on April 20th. I still intend to hold that if I figured out how to do it 100% virtual. And so I'll be in touch with Lori. I think there's still some, the financial issues are going to get more severe. And I'd like to keep that on the calendar, at least for now. It's easier to cancel it than to bring it back to life. So we'll maintain that at 6 p.m. on the 20th, pending conversation with Lori to make sure that we can make it happen. Again, I will not have the meeting in person. It will only happen if it's going to be virtual. And if I may, Mr. President, since take a minute of this time to make a few other remarks, not related to the committee, but I think it's, while the full scope of this COVID-19 virus on the health and economic welfare of our community in the months and years ahead is unknown, I think what's clear is that all of us, our families, our businesses, and local government will experience a negative economic impact from the fight to contain this virus. The current closures are likely to increase in scope and duration, and we need to get our arms around the fact that tax revenues for both 2020 and 2021 will be lower than any pre-virus estimates, very likely significantly so. So I strongly recommend that this city council accept this current reality and refocus our energy on 3 broad areas. 1, safety, that our police and fire divisions have the resources that they need to keep our citizens safe and to protect themselves in any way recommended by the CDC, federal, state, and county agencies. Secondly, our utilities. And thirdly, that we, as an administration and the city council, look beyond the traditional role of city government and find ways to help existing state and county agencies and private agencies in any way we can in their efforts to identify those in need and to distribute aid in all of its forms to those most economically affected in our community. To be fair, I don't know exactly what this help looks like at the moment and what I'm proposing, but I am confident that we can figure that out over the course of the next few months. A crisis of this magnitude requires new and creative thinking and accepting that a new paradigm has been thrust upon us. And the city's response, I can't, say enough about how proud I am to be part of the city and the way it's responding to the crisis. And the communication about the response by the mayor and the city administration have been outstanding. The website is relevant and frequently updated, and I very much appreciate the work that's been done to keep all of us informed. Joe and the whole team, it's outstanding. I hope our citizens are taking full advantage of it. And I am confident that we as a society will defeat this threat as long as we continue to follow the advice of our national, state, and county officials. And I'm equally confident that we'll rebuild our economy at the national and state levels. And the Governor DeWine and the state legislature will continue to find new ways to help those hit the hardest by the stay-at-home order. But most importantly, I believe that Bowling Green can also recover in the months and years ahead. But we need to stay focused on the economic development of our city and stay the course on the zoning code update that provides the foundation for our now even more important efforts to create an opportunity for economic development in Bowling Green. As we move forward for the rest of this year, as the city's legislative body, I personally intend to stay laser focused on those efforts, so that when the economic recovery process does begin, Bowling Green is in the very best position to attract new business and create new jobs. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robinette. I would like to make one note while we're talking about council committee reports. Originally, we had called for a meeting of the whole to discuss the findings that you all have concluded this evening on March 4th, I believe. May 4th. May 4th. As of right now, that meeting will not occur on May 4th. We are going to push that meeting back till such time as we can conduct business in a normal fashion. I have a feeling that that is a meeting that will attract a lot of interest and require an opportunity for less restrictive public input. So for the sake of allowing that to be the discussion that it needs to be, we're going to temporarily postpone that until further notice.
I fully concur with that. We really need to have public input, and we're trying to keep things simple and just do the essentials. So I fully support that.
As Greg says,
So Mark, when will our next council meeting be? Will that be in 2 weeks?
we will have a council meeting on April 20th. If we're able to wrap up business on April 20th, I would like to not meet the beginning of May, but we'll have to wait and see.
So we have several legislations that need to be acted on. Is that
Right, and a public hearing needs to be set. So
We can do all that and meet that goal. So.
okay, so is that it for council committee reports? That brings us to the reading of legislation. Okay.
Legislation for first reading. Resolution number 3760 for first reading. Resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the HGAC by Cooperative Purchasing Program and other similar government cooperative purchasing programs for the purpose of purchasing machinery, materials, emergency vehicles, supplies, and or other articles and building supplies.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give resolution 3760 its second and third reading.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Okay, could you call the roll?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps. Councilmember Phipps, yes. Robinette,
Yes.
Roland. Councilmember Roland, yes. Zanfordino,
yes.
Harold.
Yes.
Okay, just for the record, let it be noted that all 7 council members voted yes.
Resolution number 3760 for second and third reading. Resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the HGAC by cooperative purchasing program and other similar governmental cooperative purchasing programs for the purpose of purchasing machinery, materials, emergency vehicles, supplies, or other articles and building supplies.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt resolution 3760.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps. Councilmember Phipps, yes. Robinette,
Yes.
Roland. Councilmember Roland, yes. Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach.
yes. So, resolution 3760 is approved.
Ordinance number 8843 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 8843 its second and third readings.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Okay,
Phipps. Councilmember Phipps, yeah. Robinette,
Yes.
Roland. Councilmember Roland, yes. Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Leontis.
Yes.
Okay. Rules are suspended to give ordinance 8843 its second and third readings, and all council members voted yes.
Ordinance number 8843 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt ordinance 8843.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Robinette,
Yes.
Roland. Councilmember Roland, yes. Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold,
Councilmember Harold, yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps. Councilmember Phipps, yes.
Okay, so ordinance 8843 is adopted 7-0.
Ordinance number 8844 for first reading. Ordinance changing the name of Bay Harbor Court East to East Bay Harbor Court and the street name of Bay Harbor Court West to West Bay Harbor Court. Ordinance number 8845 for first reading. Ordinance accepting annexation of approximately 40.586 acres of land in Center Township, Wood County, Ohio from City of Bowling Green petitioner. Ordinance number 8846 for first reading. Ordinance establishing interim zoning for approximately 40.586 acres of land at the southwest corner of Carter Road and East Poe Road, recently annexed to the city as petitioned for by the City of Bowling Green of M1 light industrial zoning.
Mr. President, I'd like to set ordinance 8846 for public hearing on May 18th at 6:45 p.m.
May 18th, 6:45.
Legislation for second reading. Ordinance number 8832 for second reading. Ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $1,010,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of improving the city's park and recreation facilities by constructing, furnishing, and equipping a new city park community building and including landscaping, paving an entry drive and parking lot, and constructing a patio together with necessary and incidental appurtenances and such other costs of those improvements as are permitted by revised code section 133.15 to be funded from the proceeds of securities and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 8833 for second reading, ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $505,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of acquiring real estate for city purposes and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 8835 for second reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to apply for a loan and execute an agreement with the Ohio EPA, Ohio Water Development Authority, for water supply revolving loan account funding for the design, equipment, and construction of the low service pump station number 1 improvements at the water treatment plant. Ordinance number 8836 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to request qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services related to the low service pump station number 1 improvements at the water treatment plant. Ordinance number 8837 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for construction of the aeration and biosolids improvements at the water pollution control facility. Ordinance number 8838 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for sewer relining projects. Ordinance number 8839 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to enter into an amendment to the Northwestern Water and Sewer District wholesale water contract. Ordinance number 8840 for second reading. Ordinance amending and adopting Chapter 50 of the codified ordinances of the City of Bowling Green relating to sewer service. Ordinance number 8841 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the municipal administrator to enter into a contract or contracts with Calfee Strategic Solutions LLC, doing business as Calfee Zoning for professional services for zoning code update. Ordinance number 8842 for second reading. Ordinance amending the zone district map of the City of Bowling Green for approximately 18.29 acres of land in the 600 block of South Dunbridge Road from A1 agricultural to I1 institutional zoning. Legislation for third reading. Ordinance number 8834 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette?
I move that we adopt ordinance 8834.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none. Kay?
Roland? Councilperson Roland? Yes. Zanfordino?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbach?
Yes.
Leontis?
Yes.
Phipps? Councilmember Phipps? Yes. Robinette?
Yes.
Okay. So ordinance 8834 is adopted. The vote was 7-0. Is there anything else anyone would like to say? I would just like to mention, sort of piggybacking on what some other people have said tonight. John, I felt your committee did a wonderful job. And Dave, please, I'm terribly impressed with the collection of information that you have assembled, and it might be a good thing that we have more than a month to read through it and reflect on it. So, and Greg, I agree that the safety of our citizens, keeping services and utilities functioning, and working to reach out and help those among us that are in need of assistance is a top priority at this time. I've been very impressed with the city administration and all the department heads at this constantly changing situation that they've been able to adapt, and that they have been able to keep their people working and serving the citizens of Bowling Green, but doing it in a manner that protects not only their own safety, but the safety of those that they interact with. And I would encourage all of the citizens of Bowling Green to please adhere to all of the recommendations from the governor and the health department so that we can end this situation as rapidly as possible, because I really, really want to go out to dinner in a restaurant. So that is all I have to say, unless someone else has something they'd like to bring before council. All right, ladies, do you have anything to bring forward?
Not me, Councilperson Rowland, not me.
Okay. All right, well, in that case, thank you for joining us remotely. Thank you to all of you at home, and we are adjourned.
We need a motion.
I'm sorry.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Everyone that wants to leave, say aye.
Aye.
Well, you don't have to.
All right, I'm gonna assume that was a 7-0 vote.
White vote, okay.
5-0 votes too.